the Global Energy Leaders Podcast, episode 24.
Welcome to the Global Energy Leaders Podcast, powered by R2 Global.
Welcome to another edition of the Global Energy Leaders Podcast, where we bring you the biggest names in energy, and today is no exception. We have on the former president of the South African Right-of-Way Association, a former chief advisor of Eskom, and the former COO of the Department of Energy for the Republic of South Africa, and somehow he's my friend too. Muzi, how is it going today, buddy?
Hi, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's good to have you on.
Good to be here.
Yeah, so I started off with where you've been. Tell us about where you're at right now with your new startup.
No, I'm quite excited. I'm very excited. I'm still obviously in the energy space. That's where I belong. That's what I know. Still working very closely with all the energy guys, all the energy entities, still working closely with Eskom, with the Department of Energy, with its subsidiaries, Central Energy Fund, Strategic Fuel Fund, Petro SA, all these guys. I'm excited. It's just that now I'm doing it on my own. It's something that has always been with me. I've always wanted to start up my own company. So I've started my new company called Accruetech Energy. And basically the company does quite a lot of things, but the idea of starting the company is to basically try and make a considerable contribution towards bringing in clean energy technologies. So we will be quite involved in energy solutions, energy consulting, and in various energy investments.
Okay, great. And so you mentioned clean energy technologies. Now, me and you have talked about this for countless hours on end, but kind of bring the audience up to speed on, why is there such a need for South Africa to bring in these technologies? Is it a lack of innovation in the marketplace there? Is it just that it's cheaper maybe from America to import it? Kind of walk us through the process of why South Africa needs this technology brought to them.
Thank you. Thank you for that. But as you will be aware, that South Africa has vast deposits of coal, and as a result, our energy has been very much dependent on fossil fuels. We have quite a number of power stations in South Africa, and most of these power stations, the generation is purely based on coal. And South Africa obviously is a signatory to various international organizations, and as part of that, we are part of the sustainable energy group of countries, and we're signatories to the COPs. So we're quite committed to environmental sustainability, and as part of that, we, as a country, are trying to move forward by bringing in a different energy mix. And as part of that, the country has developed various policies to try and bring in this mix, to try and move away from coal. Hence, we started looking at various alternatives. And as part of that, we looked at hydropower, we look at solar power, we look at wind power, we look at all these other alternatives, purely renewables. You will also be aware, Ryan, that South Africa has quite made any inroads insofar as renewable energy is concerned. This emanates from our white paper of renewables that we developed in 2003, which set out 10,000 gigawatts hour of energy that needed to be produced from renewable energy sources, which is your biomass, wind, solar, and small-scale hydros. And we have quite made an inroad. We've got a big program currently that is running in South Africa on that. It's quite a renowned program that has actually attracted over 200 billion rand of foreign direct investments. So we're quite happy with the progress that we have made insofar as alternatives is concerned to try and move away from coal-based generation.
Okay, great. So let's just kind of step back here. Now we've had on, as you know, our good friend Ernest. He's came on the show and talked about, some stuff with South Africa.
Yes.
Okay, and then on episode 19,
Yes.
we had a discussion about Power Africa in general. I know that South Africa has some Power Africa initiatives that they're trying to get power to these rural areas. When I was down there, you and Ernest were gracious enough to kind of show me some of these areas. Can you just kind of walk us through for the audience who may not be aware of, how these Power Africa initiatives work, just kind of what's going on and how are y'all tackling this problem as you're trying to transition from fossil fuels maybe to a more renewable based system, and at the same time you're looking to get power out to these rural areas who don't have them?
Yes, we've got various initiatives, but they are all mostly anchored in a program that we call the National Integrated Energy Plan, which is our IEP. And within that, we have an integrated resource plan for the country, which basically starts spelling out our demand versus the supply over X number of years. And as part of that, we have then identified various areas. And on the rural side, for example, you have areas, if you consider South Africa, that are quite hilly and slopey for one to be able to bring in the infrastructure that is based on what Eskom will ordinarily do to bring in transmission lines and distribution lines. So in those cases, you will then obviously appreciate that other alternative means needs to be brought in. And as part of that, we have a program called the INEP, which is the Integrated National Electrification Program. And in terms of that program, we have two phases of that program, or two parts to that program, which is basically the grid and the non-grid. The grid obviously is the one that will connect through the grid, and the non-grid basically looks at the renewable or solar panels and all those kind of technologies, including battery storage and all those kind of technologies. So that has worked very well insofar as trying to bring power to the rural and remote areas in our country. And that program is quite a huge program. In fact, the budget for that program is probably the biggest budget of the Department of Energy, single program budget of that department. We're looking at over 6 billion rand of per annum for that particular program, just to bring in power to the rural areas and to the townships and some of the areas that needs power. So through the Integrated National Energy Program, we are able to then bring power, both grid and non-grid, to those areas.
Okay, great. Now, there's a lot of other exciting things that are going on in South Africa that do tie into this on some level. I know that there's natural gas development that's being talked about in South Africa. Can you kind of tell us where that's at and what are the plans with this natural gas development that's there?
We have a determination. South Africa has a determination. And in terms of these determinations, we have some 2,700 odd megawatts of power that has been determined through the ministerial determination. A ministerial determination gets concurred by our electricity regulator. And as a result, we have identified specific areas or ports that where we will want to develop this gas program. And one of those areas will be Richards Bay, and another one will be Kucha. And in Richards Bay, we have identified some 2,000 megawatts that needs to go to Richards Bay, and some 1,000 odd that needs to go to Kucha. Richards Bay is quite a well-developed port. If you're thinking of it from a gas point of view, because you have quite a well-developed infrastructure, more around the pipeline infrastructure that is already in that area. You have a good connection of pipelines that can take gas from Richards Bay, which is sitting in another province, I would say in another state in terms of the US, which can then bring it up all the way to the economic hub where the demand is, and that is in Gauteng, in Johannesburg. So you have a well-developed infrastructure insofar as that is concerned. But also, it can begin to address some of the challenges that we have insofar as our peaking stations, which are very heavily depending on gas. They are running on diesel, and therefore we will have to convert those peaking stations that are heavily depending on diesel to gas. And again, this gas can help insofar as that is concerned. And obviously, to try and do this, the country will have to look at an LNG to gas project. But also, while we're looking at an LNG to power project, it will be a great opportunity for the country to also explore opening up the other markets that the gas can actually capitalize on, including industrial gas, but using the gas to power as an anchor for the development of such infrastructure. So the gas market is quite huge in South Africa. We just have to start, and the gas to power program is quite a big anchor to try and get this going. We are quite excited by this development, and obviously you would have heard that South Africa is one of the top 5 countries in terms of shale gas reserves, and we yet to explore this, and that probably will be realized in another 17 to 20 years time. So we will have to then come up with temporal measures of how to bridge this gap before we can realize our own natural gas. So it's a long-term plan. It's a long-term gas program, a gas development program. And I believe that countries like the US can play a very huge role. If you think about it, they are quite advanced in shale gas development. They are quite advanced in LNG to power projects. So this is an opportunity for the private sector, for our government, for our state-owned entities that will need to participate in that kind of a program, for private sector, for the country at large. It's a huge program. So we're quite excited about it, and we're looking forward to the development of such a project.
No, that sounds extremely exciting. I want to transition one more question about South Africa, and then I want to kind of let you kind of walk us through maybe a little bit of a wider perspective that goes on in Africa. But energy efficiency, I know that's something that South Africans are kind of looking into. They're trying to figure out how do we become more energy efficiency to preserve, the energy that we're using. And, some of the stuff that we've talked about before and I've seen is, just, smart technology as far as lighting goes and stuff like that. Can you kind of walk us through where that's at in the South African development? Is that catching on? Is that going to be something that we're going to see kind of rapidly grow over the next few years, or is it kind of still rolling its way out and hadn't really caught mainstream yet?
Thank you. The mission or the main objective of the Department of Energy's energy efficiency is to develop measures to promote energy savings, to reduce negative impact of energy use on the environment. We're looking at reducing energy cost to the economy, contribute towards sustainable development, and to achieve basically national energy policy. And as part of this, they're looking to optimize energy sector development through efficient utilization, production, and consumption of energy sources. And there are many certain opportunities that have been looked at And there are various strategies. One of them will be the National Energy Efficiency Strategy of South Africa, which was developed and approved by our cabinet in March of 2005 and was again reviewed in, I think, October of 2008. And it sets targets for improved energy efficiency in South Africa at least 12% by 2015. And this will, to get to this point, one, the department has looked at who are the biggest energy users that they can target so that they can be able to begin to see a big impact. They started identifying large companies that are big energy users that they can begin to work with, and they've signed energy efficiency accords committing themselves to targets that are contained in the National Energy Efficiency Strategy of South Africa. One of those, for example, will be public buildings, because they are within actually the control of government. How do we ensure that within public buildings we implement energy efficiency? How do we ensure that, for example, with correctional centers, that we can be able to implement energy efficiency for cooking systems, lighting systems, and heating systems, and all those sort of things. So there are various opportunities that are available and that are basically being explored. I mean, they've gone as far as to initiate an appliance labeling campaign where labels of household appliances inform consumers how energy efficiency, how their appliances relate to energy efficiency. They've got various television campaigns, radio campaigns about saving electricity, around switching off your geyser at particular times where there is no demand. There are various opportunities that are really there. I mean, street lighting, there's a lot. So that's quite a very big space that the country is looking at. We are excited by that. We are at quite a start in terms of really making a huge impact and inroads insofar as that. I guess various technologies as they develop will be needed and will assist in realizing more value out of this. And again, I believe that the opportunities exist for various companies in developed world, various companies that are sitting in America and everywhere, who can develop various technologies for battery storage, for various technologies in this space of energy efficiency. Those are opportunities that are available in this country, and we're looking forward for companies and various interested groups who wants to come and invest and make those kind of investment opportunities are there.
Okay, so Muzi, you mentioned a lot there, and one thing that I want you to kind of walk the audience through, and you've kind of helped me understand this a little better over the past few years, is people maybe hear this and think, okay, South Africa, there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also Mozambique, and there's Zimbabwe, and there's Angola, there's all these other countries that are sub-Saharan that might have some really good opportunities. Can you just kind of walk people through why South Africa might be the best place to start if they are wanting to get into sub-Saharan Africa?
Thank you, Ryan. Look, maybe I might end up being biased, and I don't want to sound biased because I love my country, and therefore I will always advocate for my country being the best springboard for anyone who wants to make inroads in South Africa. And I think generally, anyone who has visited Africa and explored Africa will agree with me that we have a stable country. Our democracy is maturing. We have stable economic growth. We've got great opportunities. There are various diverse industries, whether it's mining, whether it's textile, whether it's energy. We've got various industries and opportunities. And the linkages with SADC are there, from the transport network to rail networks to freight and all that. So to link up with all these countries is quite something that is possible. Over and above that, you have what we call the Southern African Power Pool. So most of these countries, in any case, do link and do sit together to discuss regional integration, discuss issues that relate to regional energy dynamics, challenges, and opportunities. And South Africa has been, through Eskom, has been providing some of these countries with energy. We've got transmission networks that links up South Africa and brings power to the Southern African countries. Some of these countries in SADC are heavily depending on hydro, have been depending on hydro for their generation. But with the droughts and all that, it has created problems. Dams have been drying up, and we're glad that to see more rains now because that's good for the region. But the reality is it has created a bit of a challenge for those that have been very much heavily depending on hydro schemes. So South Africa has been providing power to South Africa and has been providing power to the region. Eskom is the biggest generator, transmitter, and distributor of electricity in the whole of Africa. So you can imagine, we've got a world-renowned constitution. We've got quite a number of statutes and laws and policies that are quite mature. And our system and separation of powers is quite well mature. So to come and start off in South Africa will be a little bit seamless for anyone who's coming in a mature democracy like the America, and then go out and explore what other opportunities are available in Africa. And obviously you will get certain challenges as you go to certain other places, but nothing that one cannot handle. But there will be dynamics that will be unique from country to country. But when you are in South Africa, I can almost guarantee that a lot will be more world-class and quite seamless from an investment point of view.
Absolutely. Well, Muzi, you've been so gracious, and I just want to say, just on a personal note here, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure as we've become friends over the past 5 years now. I don't remember, and just to kind of watch your career, and you went from a guy that I said I knew in South Africa to the COO of the Department of Energy South Africa, and I was really bragging on you a lot back then. I was like, yeah, I got a buddy that's a COO of a Department of a state somewhere. So I was using your name. I was using your name probably more than you were using mine. But look, I'm so excited for what you have going on and the future projects that we're going to hopefully do together, and hopefully that we can also, we talked about maybe do a little roundtable discussion with some other professionals in South Africa sometime in the future, and just to learn more about this economy. As I've been down there, 3 times now, and love coming down there, love meeting the people, and love learning so many similarities. We all have similar problems, but there's so many differences, and so it's always great to learn about all that stuff. So thank you for coming on. Is there anything that you want to plug or promote that we did not get to today?
No, thank you very much. I really want to take an opportunity to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything. I mean, you're quite right. A professional relationship has developed over the years into a great friendship that I really, really appreciate, me and my family in general. Thank you very much. I'm quite excited. There are quite great opportunities that exist in South Africa. I mean, I know everyone has been talking about our new nuclear program that the country wants to embark on. We're excited about that because it's going to open other opportunities, including nuclear waste, management and all those kind of things. It's going to open up research, nuclear research opportunities, and so many other things. South Africa has always been involved in nuclear in one way or the other for quite some time. We're quite excited about our renewable energy program. We're quite excited about what we're currently doing in the energy efficiency space. I'm quite also excited, Ryan, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm quite excited about Accruetech Energy. We are at the start of it, but there are great things that already are happening in that space. Obviously, we can be reached, and we would love to post our details in your website, or we can send it to you, and you can share it with your listeners. And we are open. We are open to any communication at any time. They can call us. They can ask us about anything that we are able to assist with insofar as policies, legislations, and anything relating to energy in South Africa. Any partnerships that they think will be beneficial and will create value for all parties. We're quite excited to do business with America and the world. So yeah, we look forward to that. We're very, very excited. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, and guys, just so you know, we will link to everything that pertains to Muzi and his company in the show notes, and you can find those at globalenergymedia.com, and you will be able to go there, find the show notes, and get all of his information if you want to reach out to him. Muzi, I've said it before, and I will say it again, you are the most connected man in Africa. It was a pleasure speaking to you today, and we look forward to having you on again in the future.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you.
And that was my conversation with my good friend Muzi from South Africa. To find all of his contact information, check out the show notes page at globalenergymedia.com, and you can find all the links to contact Muzi with any questions that you may have about South Africa. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, keep climbing.
Thanks for listening to the Global Energy Leaders Podcast, powered by R Squared Global.